DreAllDay.com.
Before we start, please like and comment on this video so I can get your feedback. Also, click that subscribe button so you can get all the new content I'm dropping on this channel. And the free book, the mental handbook, physical book, Work on Your Game University, just take care of the shipping and handling, send this right to your doorstep. Let's get started. What's going on, everybody? Dre Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. We're back with NBA previews for the 2016-2017 season, and today we are talking the Denver Nuggets, who won 33 games last year, which is not terrible in the Western Conference, which I think has more strong teams than the Eastern Conference. At least they did last year. So let's take a look at this team, the additions they made, what I think they're going to do this season. And honestly, I'll admit right up front, I don't know much about the Denver Nuggets. I didn't follow anything about them last year, didn't watch any of their games last year. I do know who these players are. I did see some highlights, but if you're a Denver Nuggets fan or you saw the Nuggets a few times last year, you watched some full games. I'm not talking about some workout that some guy made 10 shots in a row where he was doing dunks, or some rec league that the guy played in the summertime. I'm talking about you actually watched the Denver Nuggets games last year, and I don't think there's too many of you, but maybe I'm wrong. Then you can offer your insights also in the comments, in addition to whatever I'm going to share here, and I don't even know what that is, so let's get into it. Looking at the Nuggets roster, they got Darrell Arthur, who I think is he's a good stopgap type guy. I don't think he's even in the rotation on a team that's going to compete anywhere. Will Barton, who started to actually showed some flashes last year. Playing shooting guard, he got some time to actually get comfortable on the court. He got the ball a little bit more often. He had some 20-point games last year. So I think Will Barton actually has some potential with the Denver Nuggets. I think he's a end of rotation guy on a competing basketball team. Is Will Barton your starting guard on a team that's going to actually go somewhere? I would have to say no. I would have to say no on a team that's going somewhere. But can he get you 20 points on a team that wins 33 games? Obviously he can, because he did it last season. Let's look at his stats overall, Will Barton. I know he's been in the league for a few years. He's been in the league since 2012, so he's been around for a minute. 4 seasons in the NBA. Last year he played all 82 games for Denver, so he was a reliable guy. He only shot 43% from the floor, 35% from three. So his shooting percentages may need to go up slightly. Free throws, he only shot 3 free throws a game. Being as athletic as he is, that tells me, even if I didn't watch the games, that he probably shot a lot of jump shots, shooting 3 free throws a game, being 6'6" and athletic. He's 175 pounds, so he's a thinner guy, so he probably didn't attack the rim too much, but he can put the ball in the basket, obviously. The guy averaged 14 points per game. He was getting 12 shot attempts a game, so he was getting the ball. He can make 81% of his foul shots. He's a good rebounder, getting 6 rebounds a game, 2.5 assists, a steal a game, half of a block. So he's active. He's active out there on the floor. I think Will Barton is going to have to improve. If this team is going to be a playoff team, he's going to be a rotation guy playing 28 minutes a game. So this dude he's heavy in the rotation. He's playing 28 minutes, even though he's not a starter. He's going to have to step his game up if this team is going to compete, and he's going to keep getting those minutes. That's what I'm saying. He's going to do both. He's going to have to step his game up. Wilson Chandler, who I think is a great role player on a solid team. I would love to see somebody like Wilson Chandler on a team like the Cleveland Cavs or the Golden State Warriors or the Boston Celtics, a team that's already a playoff team. They just need those solid rotation guys. He'd be great on a team like that. I think he is not a guy you want to have on a rebuilding team. I think Wilson Chandler is a guy who needs to be on a good team, a veteran team, where he can be that 7th or 8th or even 9th man, depending on how deep their rotation is, and he can add to a team that's already succeeding. He's not a guy at 29, you don't want him on a rebuilding team, because he's 29, which means he's not an older guy who's like, let me sit the bench and mentor the young guys. He's young enough where he actually needs to be on the court having a role and doing something, but he's getting in the way of the young guys who Denver needs to develop. I mean, you don't need to play Wilson Chandler over Will Barton. Will Barton needs to play on he's a developing player on a developing, rebuilding team. Wilson Chandler is not a developing player. He is who he is. And he's a good, solid guy, but he needs to be on a team where he can actually help. I mean, what is he doing with the Denver Nuggets except getting in the way of the young guys? And that doesn't mean there's something wrong with Wilson Chandler. That's what he's supposed to do, play as best as he possibly can. They need to move him for maybe another young guy or an older guy who's like 35, who just wants to help mentor young guys. That's what Denver needs right now. They do have Michael Malone as a new coach. Isn't Mike Malone the same guy who got fired from the Sacramento Kings? Am I right about that or wrong about that? I think he's the same guy who was coaching the Sacramento Kings, got fired in the middle of the season. I believe this is the same guy. Somebody, actually, I'm looking at it right now. So yes, he coached the Kings in 2014. He won 28 games, and the next year the Kings were 11-13. 2015 season. Okay, so he coached all of last year with the Denver Nuggets. In 2015, he coached 24 games with the Kings. who won 11 of the 13 games. They were actually like respectable. They won 45% of the games. They were respectable. People was like, the Kings is actually like maybe doing something. And then they fired him. And the Kings are the next review. We're going to talk about the Kings in depth. I got a lot of things to say about the Sacramento Kings. Then last year in Denver, he won 33 games. So I think Mike Malone is a good coach. He should still be the coach of the Sacramento Kings. He's not. Again, that's a different story that we'll get to when we get to talking about the Sacramento Kings. I think he is a solid guy to have as a coach. His second year here coaching, so he's going to get his system in place more. He knows his players a little bit better. The players understand him a little bit better. So I think this team is going to get better. I think the Nuggets will be a better team this year. And let me go through the rest of the roster, and I'm going to tell you what I think they're actually going to do. Kenneth Faried is only 26. It seems like he's been in the NBA forever. Kenneth Faried, 26. He's a guy. I think Kenneth Faried would be great if you put him on a team like, who's a team Kenneth Faried would be good on? The Toronto Raptors. Put Kenneth Faried on the Toronto Raptors, and I think they have a much more of a chance to compete with Cleveland. They're still not going to beat Cleveland, but they got more of a chance. You put him on a team like that, a team that needs a piece guy who can do something very, very well. Kenneth Faried is a high-energy guy who grabs a lot of damn rebounds. He's athletic. He'll get you, he'll get you a couple 15, 20-point games. He's not really a scoring guy. He's an energy guy who can grab some damn rebounds. He's super athletic. He's a guy I would love to see Kenneth Faried on a winning team, a team that is successful in winning basketball games. Unfortunately, he's stuck here in Denver on this team who is, and again, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen with this team, but this is not a quote-unquote winning team. Denver, if you got to win half of your games to be a winning team, Denver's not a winning team. I think they're going to get better. I would love to see Kenneth Faried on a team that's already contending. Him and Wilson Chandler, same thing, even though Kenneth Faried is only 26 years old. Danilo Gallinari, he was playing great when he was in New York for that half a season before Carmelo forced a trade. He hasn't been as great since. I know he's had some injuries, but I think he's a starter. He's definitely a guy who can start on this team and be maybe even a leading scorer on this team. He might have already been the leading scorer last year. I don't know. Somebody tell me. Gary Harrison from Michigan State. Nikola Jokic had a great, I think last year was just his rookie year. He's shown some signs of being a presence in the NBA. So I like Jokic. Again, young guy, good guy to build with. Mike Miller's that veteran guy, 36 years old. He re-signed with Denver this offseason, which surprised me because I would think Mike Miller is the kind of guy, exact kind of guy who will go sign with a Cleveland or sign with a Golden State or sign with a San Antonio, a team that is right there and may possibly win the championship. But he decided to re-sign in Denver. So that was an interesting re-signing by Mike Miller. I wonder what was driving that. And now at the young guys, you got Emmanuel Mudiay, who just came off his rookie year, and Jamal Murray, who's a shooting guard, 19 years old, just coming out of Kentucky. Another guy from Kentucky. They just producing NBA players like a factory. Jameer Nelson, who's that veteran, 34-year-old point guard. Yusuf Nurkic, who is also a young guy, 22 years old. He's another 7-footer, right there next to Jokic, who's 6'10", 21 years old. So they got two young big guys, European big guys who can come in and do their thing. Then they got a couple other young guys who Jakar Sampson and Alex Tupin. I believe Jakar Sampson is a rookie, sophomore. I don't know. Somebody tell me. I don't know this guy, but I know he's on the team. So I think he's on that looks like a rookie deal, the contract that he has. Rookie deal or a second-year deal that he has. So looking at this team overall, the Denver Nuggets, with this roster, this is just based on this roster. And again, I'm recording this in early September. So anything that happens after that, any roster changes, I don't know about it. Any injuries, I didn't know it happened because I'm recording before it happened. This roster right here is not making the playoffs. This roster is not making the playoffs. I think in the East, maybe they can make it, or if the NBA had it more wide open, just the top 16 teams, they might have a chance coming into the season. But in the Western Conference, as it's presently set up, this team is not going to make the playoffs. They don't have a #1 guy who they can just go to night after night and say, hey, get us a couple buckets here down the stretch. Danilo Gallinari is not that guy. I don't think he is going to be that guy. He's a great, I believe, third scorer on a contending team. Will Barton, again, I know Will Barton can score points, but can you bet on Will Barton 82 games throughout a season to get you 20 points a game? I would say you can bet on him to get 14, 15 on a bad team, which he did last year. I'd say between 10 and 13 points on a good team. This team becomes good. I think Will Barton's role has to actually diminish. Emmanuel Mudiay, he's the guy they put their future in. His role has to go up. He got to play more. And I think Mike Malone has a year with them working together. I think they both understand each other better. I see the Denver Nuggets winning just because of their coach and because they have the continuity of the roster. I think they have a lot of guys that are coming back from last year. I would say this team wins about between 35 and 38 games this year, the Denver Nuggets. They are not going to make the playoffs. I think they're going to have some progress. They need to make a change. There needs to be some kind of shake up here. They either need to bring in a young star guy, or one of these young guys needs to become a star. One of those two things has to happen for this team to actually become a playoff team. Otherwise, they're going to keep treading water in this 30 to 40 wins category, which is not going to get them, number one, it's not going to make them good enough to make the playoffs, and number two, they're going to be just good enough that they don't get that high of a draft pick to get a superstar guy, unless they get lucky in a lottery, because they're going to be in a lottery. So that's my take on the Denver Nuggets. Any of you, again, watch the Nuggets, know more about these players, or have a different prediction than what I have, leave it in the comments. Let me know. Next team we're going to cover, I believe, is going to be the Sacramento Kings. Let me go back and make sure I got that right. I believe it's the Sacramento Kings, so we are looking up right now. So we have done, counting from the bottom, Sixers, Lakers, Nets, Suns, Timberwolves, Pelicans, Knicks, Bucks, Nuggets, and the next Sacramento Kings will be the next team we'll talk about. And I got some things to say about the Kings. That'll be an interesting one. I'll see y'all tomorrow with the next preview. Work on your game. DreAllDay.com.
Hey, witness on the beat.